Hello, for this technical tip we're going to be going through the cockpit setup to make sure it's right for you. So on the bikes you need to make sure that your levers and handlebars are in the correct place for you. This all depends on height, size of the rider, weight, all of that. So initially you don't want your levers to be too high or too low. When you're on the bike and you're riding along, you want your levers to be just below level for your fingers. If you have them too far low, you're risking your wrists being up too high like this, and too high up, then you're almost creating a weak spot there when you're not as strong as you can be. So you want them about there, so your wrists and hands are about level and you can get the most power out of your arms. Next is the handlebar positioning. For taller riders, especially in the modern way of riding, we normally roll them forward a bit further. And for smaller riders and more traditional riders, further back. It just brings the foot peg to handlebar height and length a bit lower to suit them a bit more. With bars a bit further forward and a bit taller, it means that the bike is probably better on the back wheel for the more modern style of riding. And when you have them rolled further back, it puts more weight on the rear wheel. So for mud riding, more traditional streams, it's better in that sense. Today we're going to be going through suspension setup to get the most out of your OSET. Suspension comes down to personal preference and also the type of riding you're doing. With the OSETs, there are two main setups that I like to use depending on what kind of competition or what kind of riding I want to do that day. If I'm aiming to do a competition, I normally set up my suspension a bit softer so that it absorbs all of the rocks and tree roots and stuff. It just gives you a bit more of an edge over having it a bit stiffer than you would for trick riding. So for trick riding you have it a bit stiffer so you can pull off the bigger moves, bigger drops, and personally it just makes it feel more like a trick bike, more like a bicycle. This is personal preference. My brother Elliot, two-time national champion, likes his suspension very soft so it just tracks over all the obstacles, and then I'm the complete opposite, so it's completely personal, but I tend to go stiffer for trick riding, softer for competition use. Today we're going to be showing you how to take out a fork spring on the OSET 24. It is very similar on the smaller bike like the 20R as well. Right, so first the equipment you'll need is either a 21mm socket or a 21mm spanner. To get the spring out you'll need your 21mm socket or spanner and just undo it gently until it's out. Once it's finger loose you can just do it with your fingers. Right, it should come out this way, and when you go to put it back in, make sure it's that way. Notice the grease at the bottom, that is to keep it all moving smoothly. To get the spring out, you'll need to simply pull up on the front suspension or put it on the ground, put your finger in and pull it out. When you take the spring out, make note of what way it went in and what way it came out, so that when you go to put it back in, it's easily done. And to put it back in, same as before, drop it in there, make sure this goes in the right way.